Hi, Stephanie. It's fantastic to be speaking to you. What
Hi,
you do,
Taryn.
what
Thanks
you
for having
do.
me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. What you do with DESTY is fascinating. And could you tell us a little bit about it, what it stands for, and what exactly your work is?
Absolutely. So DESTY is an acronym, and it stands for Discovering Exceptional Strengths and Talents in You. And it's also the name of a little character who's built into our online program. So our main focus of our work is to train and support educators and soon parents and foster carers in delivering the DESTY program, which is an online program, and it supports the development of social and emotional learning skills. So supporting children to develop their social and emotional well-being.
Wow. Why did you start DESTY, and what is it that you saw in the beginning that was missing?
Yeah, I trained as an educational psychologist, and in my work, both in schools and in the community, I just saw a growing need in terms of the emotional needs of children, and those needs, I suppose the people around those children finding it difficult to know what to do to support them. And you can see the impact of those emotional needs in terms of behavioural challenges that were being presented, learning needs that weren't being addressed. And I just felt we're missing something here for an awful lot of children who need something more than just a learning program. They need something to address the root causes of behavioural challenges, emotional challenges. So it was just seeing the trend of increase in diagnosis of children with emotional behavioural difficulties, of anxiety, and recognising we need to do something different, and we need to support those working with these children to feel that they feel skilled and they're able to really work on the root causes of what's going on.
That's phenomenal. Tell us a little bit more about what exactly DESTY does.
So the core part of our program is the initial training of a DESTY mentor. And as I mentioned, a DESTY mentor can be an educator working in a school setting, which was our focus last year in Ireland and UK. Also, the parents or foster carers or healthcare professionals can be trained up to become DESTY mentors. And they then work with the child by facilitating the online program. So a child visits an island called DESTY Island and they meet the parent of DESTY. And so the mentor and the child work together in learning about DESTY, learning about DESTY's feelings, their own feelings. And it's just a very child-centered and a very interactive way and fun way of working with children through issues or questions that sometimes can be a little bit tricky.
Right. The word online caught my attention, and I believe you're dealing with relationships. So tell us a little bit more about this online, offline, if I understood that correctly.
Yes, absolutely. So I suppose even my initial concept when I started working on DESTY a number of years ago was that it would be an online platform, and potentially a child would log on and go into the system and work through, a program that would support them. And as I did more research, I recognized that a key element of children's emotional needs in particular is around the relationship they have with people around them. So we shifted our focus and realized that the online program is one aspect of the offering, but the training and support of the mentor is another core element of it. So we train mentors in understanding attachment issues, in understanding children's brains and how they work in terms of processing emotions and relationships. And we give them ongoing support. So the program, if you like, Taryn, on its own, the online offering, it doesn't work on its own with the child working. That's one of the key things in our training. It needs to be supported by this offline mentor, because one of their key roles is they get to generalize the learning. The research I did on other programs and web-based programs was that children were enjoying the program, they were presented with information, they seemed to be engaged, but the learning wasn't happening outside of that session. So in order for that to be generalized and facilitated, some person needs to be on that journey with the child, and that's the goal.
Right. That's fairly straightforward the way you make it sound, but I'm sure it's complicated to carry out. What are your metrics for success, or how do you measure having an impact?
I suppose the initial pilot we ran 2 years ago, and we did a pilot study on that. So as part of that data gathering, we would have done a quantitative measure of an emotional wellbeing measure called the Strengths and Difficulties Questionnaire. And then we also gathered a lot of qualitative feedback, both from the mentors and from the children. So the outcome of that initial pilot was that almost 80% of children were shown to have an increase in their emotional wellbeing score. But more overwhelmingly, the kind of feedback we were getting from the mentors in terms of how children were opening up, discussing things, engaging, And we were getting case studies of children who had been emotionally shut down. That's the feedback that was presented. And through DESTY, they started to open up and they started to uncover the layers of what was going on. So the qualitative and the quantitative were the pilot. Since that, we worked on our system because we got really useful information, and we've been working on the system, and we rolled out improvements last year. So we still continue to measure the SDQ where we can, where educators return that, so we measure that. We also take a lot of qualitative data. So at the end of a session, each session a child has, both they and the mentor, or just the mentor, gives us feedback on how the session went, how the child enjoyed it. And then just the case studies that we get back in terms of the feedback of the impact it has had on the children. The other metrics we would look at is, in a school, if we have one trained mentor, is there another trained mentor? Do they find it effective enough to bring another mentor forward for training? Are they buying additional licenses for children? So if they're working with one child, do they find it's effective, so they're buying more licenses because they see it can help more children? So those are the kind of measures that we very serious branch review of at the moment.
Right. So it sounds like you work with adults, you work with children, you work with schools, you bought up licensing. What are your pathways to reach more students, reach more children, and scale up DESTY?
Yeah, I mean, last year, one of the most restrictive elements of scaling was that I was the trainer. So I physically trained over 200 mentors on site in Ireland and the UK, which was a wonderful experience, and just got so much feedback and learned so much. What we're currently working on, and which we'll be launching at the end of next month, is we're bringing our training online. So we're delivering our training through live, interactive, online sessions where we can have a global reach, basically, so that people can log on from anywhere in the world, be facilitated in an interactive session, not just videos that are recorded and played. These are interactive, engaging sessions, and where they have bite size of information that they can work through. So our real strategy is the focus for the whole team at the moment is getting that training online so that we can reach more mentors and then ultimately more children.
Very interesting. What are the challenges you face in sharing this vision and expanding the, dare I say, market for social emotional learning and reaching more adults who are ready to explore this area and work with children?
If we take the education systems that we've worked with so far, within Ireland and the UK in particular, and that's where I feel there is a really good fit for DESTY, because we've got people that we can harness their expertise and also upskill them. One of the challenges within educational settings is that there's not a full appreciation of the need to address the social and emotional learning for children. So we still meet with some resistance where, you know, some schools, depending on the leadership within that school and the culture within the school, some schools feel, well, we're learning institutions, so you know it's the academics that we focus on. And I suppose the way that we present it is that actually until the child is safe, emotionally secure, and has a good positive relationship with the people around them, then it's going to impact on their learning. And we have lots of research, a very recent research come out in 2017 to demonstrate that actually it has a knock-on effect to the academic abilities. But I think for myself, in terms of the education system, it's really trying to drive that message home that we need to look at the whole child development, and we need to look at the skills development, not only the academic, but also how they relate to other people on a social level, and how they manage and regulate and understand their feelings and what they can do with them when they get to a point that they, you know, they don't know exactly how to cope.
That's beautiful, Stephanie. I've always loved speaking to you, and I cannot wait to track how DESTY does in the next few months. I have a final personal question for you to end on, which is, I know you've been a researcher, you've taught, you've trained, and you're now running a very successful business. What's been the biggest challenge for you, and what are you looking forward to in the next 6 months to a year?
I think, Taryn, the biggest challenge has been I trained as a psychologist and I developed a software product. You know, I've gone into a technology space, so it's been a really huge learning curve for myself. I've had to go into unknown territory. So I suppose in terms of when I think of children and, you know, their experiences, I can relate that to the last year has been, you know, there has been challenges and I've been unsure. I've had to pull in a lot of people to support me. So I think the whole area of being in a new world has been one of the biggest challenges. I can't wait to get going with their online training. I want to train and support and work with as many mentors as we can. And I think that's what excites me, and that's what really is driving us forward for the next 6 months.
Fantastic. It was lovely speaking to you, Stephanie, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Sharon.